What is swinging? Converting potential energy into kinetic energy, then kinetic energy back into potential energy, over and over. Just kidding. Swinging is the practice of engaging in some form of swapping sexual partners, usually with another couple or within a group. How and why did swinging start? To understand, we need to look at the broader picture of what was happening at the time. After World War II, America experienced a great economic boom. Why is this relevant? Well, you'll notice that there is not a lot of swinging going on in rural communities or in poorer neighborhoods. So, as I was saying, following the Great Depression and after World War II, governments decided to introduce social institutions to protect and promote the economic and social well-being of their citizens. Basically, what this means is that in Western countries, it became standard for governments to provide benefits like state pensions, state housing, unemployment insurance, and other forms of social welfare to protect citizens from falling into poverty. At this time, contractors would buy up huge pieces of land to develop homes just outside the city, with family rooms, backyards, and private garages. To keep the prices affordable, government would help people to pay off these new family homes. This is why everyone had a decent home back in the 1950s, even if you worked for McDonald's. This was essentially the invention of the suburbs and the middle class. Before the suburbs, you either lived in a rural town or you lived in the city. But with the invention of the suburbs came the concept of the bored housewife. You see where this is going, right? But the first reports of wife swapping were actually reported not in American suburbs, but in suburbs built for American military families, in South Korea. During the Korean War in 1950, America sent around 60,000 troops to South Korea, many of whom were families, and this was where the first reports of wife swapping occurred. My guess is that being away from your home country gives you a sense of freedom. Freedom from cultural and societal norms. Also, it was probably difficult to cheat in an army base in a foreign country, because everyone knows each other's business. So horny husbands and wives probably had to come clean about their desire to have sex with other people, which resulted in the consensual swapping of partners. When these families later returned to America, they brought the practice with them. It was only until the 1970s, though, when swinging began to go mainstream, largely due to the hippie counterculture and free love movement of the 1960s. Suddenly, key parties were all the rage.
Would you care to play? It's strictly volunteer, of course.
A key party?
The men put their car keys in a bowl, and at the end of the evening, the women line up and fish them out.
A key party is when couples, usually married couples, agree to drop their car keys in a bowl. The women then pull a random key out of the bowl, and whoever's keys they retrieve would be the husband they would end up going home with for the night. A swinger lifestyle tends to only focus on sex, though, unlike an open relationship or a polyamorous lifestyle. In a polyamorous relationship, couples consent to see other people, not just for sex, but they might have deep feelings for the other partner and fall in love. So basically, you're in love with more than one person and commit to more than one partner at the same time, whereas in an open relationship, you are in love with a primary partner, but you consent to having sexual relationships with other people. A swinger's lifestyle is one in which a couple engages sexually with other people, usually other couples, together as a couple. Or it can harm your relationship. In order for it to bring you closer, open and honest communication is necessary. If you're interested in swinging, chances are there is a swingers club in your area. By basic definition, a swinger lifestyle is any activity that a couple participates in together, involving sexual activity or potential sexual activity with others. Swinging is something that's done as a couple, not alone. Swingers might be married and go to sex clubs and even take sex vacations with other couples. Some even attend orgies together. Swinging was once heavily frowned upon by the general public, and people into swinging had to signal to others secretly by various code words or by wearing a certain type of clothing. These days, it is generally more accepted and not as taboo. There are websites today where couples can look for other swingers in their area, like swinglifestyle.com, which is advertised as the world's largest swinging community. It provides numerous resources for couples wanting to swing and to find other swingers nearby. The site also contains a list of swingers clubs around the world and even lists where you can find and book a swingers cruise. Even though swinging and polyamory are different, they can be engaged in together by a couple or individually. While those relationships might sometimes be sex-based, it's the amory in polyamory that differentiates it from other forms of non-monogamy. Amory implies being in love. Swinging, on the other hand, is about sex, and it's also centered around a couple taking part in sex with others together. Couples may not always have sex with others together, but the implication is that they will be in the same place. Sometimes one partner might not be having relations with someone else, though. Sometimes one partner is more interested in watching. This is usually because it excited them to see their partner being intimate with someone else and increases their desire for that partner. So it is common that afterwards the couple will engage sexually once the stranger leaves. In swinging, there is also what's known as a unicorn. A unicorn is usually someone who is willing to join an existing couple for sexual relations. A unicorn is typically a bisexual female, but in some instances can be biologically male or non-binary. The term originates from the fact that a unicorn is a mythical creature, which does not exist, and implies that it is almost impossible to find one. In polyamory, though, a triad is when 3 people agree to enter a relationship, and all partners are considered equals. This differs from the unicorn dynamic, in that the unicorn does not usually get involved with each member of the couple, but only chooses to sleep with them as a couple, and is not seen as a primary member, but is seen as more of an accessory. For this reason, society still tends to look down on people who chooses to be a unicorn. In polyamory, there's also what is called a quad, typically consisting of 2 males and 2 females, who are considered as equal members in the relationship. In swinging and polyamory, to be successful, openness and honesty is key, and there are no secrets between partners and boundaries are agreed before going to a swingers club. So, are swingers happier or more miserable than monogamous couples? The research shows that swingers and polyamorous couples score the same as monogamous couples in regard to happiness and mental well-being. What are the benefits of swinging? More sex, for one, and an opportunity to further explore one's sexual desire and gratification. Before you decide to become a swinger, you should familiarize yourself with swingers etiquette. For instance, it is considered rude to meet a new swinging couple on your own. Also, personal hygiene is very important, so do not show up at a swingers party with sweaty balls. Done right, the swingers lifestyle can build bonds in a relationship and give partners an outlet to explore their sexuality in ways that monogamy cannot, says Ritush, a qualified sex therapist, on verywellmind.com, who tells us that it can be a way to foster closeness and increase sexual gratification. He reminds us, though, that it is, however, not without risk and not to be undertaken lightly. If you and your partner don't communicate openly and honestly, swinging can damage your relationship. Additionally, Ritush notes that you also must be ready to accept that friends and family outside of the relationship may have their own feelings and biases about the practice. Should these exploits come to light, it can impact those relationships as well. Swinging is perhaps much more common than you think, with research suggesting that about 2% of married couples are swingers, and that between 10 and 20% of couples admit to having participated in a behavior that could be considered swinging, be it from having allowed a partner to participate in soft swinging, or to buying a partner a lap dance. Soft swinging is also on the rise among modern couples. Soft swinging is where no sexual penetration takes place.